Well, look what we got over my shoulder. It's the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. My 1956 chop top Volkswagen Beetle. Absolutely gorgeous. And I promise you guys she'll be out in the sun today. We're trying to get some things on this car, as much as I can, for the car show this Saturday. If you're in the Pensacola Bay area and you'd like to attend our show, October 19th is the biggest show in this area. We usually have 200 plus cars, and we're expecting possibly record numbers again this year. Look on rareairvw.com for more information, or if you'd like to pre-register your car, you still have an opportunity to do that. I think we're going to leave pre-registration open all the way up until Friday. We'd love to have you, love to see you, and of course, I'll be there. You'll get to meet me, and you'll see Eleanor. So anyways, let's go have a look at this car and see what we can do. Alright, here's my circuit boards all assembled. This was something I was saving for another video, but I figured now's as good a time as any. These are currently set up on a rail, a DIN rail, so everything is attached to it, it's all one piece. I'm going to try to attempt to see how this is going to mount under the hood. It may get mounted before the show, it may not, I guess we'll just have to see. And then of course this is the switch panel that's going inside the car, but look how elegant this is. There's no tangled wires, messes, and you remember how it was all set up when I had it on the table before? It was just wires going every which way. Well, no longer. Now it's just all in one spot. And then this is my fuse box, which is still unfinished. I need to finish soldering down the fuse holders to the board. But this is where all the wires from the car are going to go into. And then with a nice little cover, I can hide everything so it all gets tucked behind. So we don't have that typical Volkswagen rat's nest that we encounter on all these old Volkswagen Beetles. Or Carmaghias, or buses, or even Type 3s. The wiring on these things are just an absolute disaster, and that's what I don't want on this car. So anyway, these are the circuit boards, and that's what we're going to put into this car. But let's have a quick walk around here, because I know you guys really want to get a good look at this, and this is the only real good chance that I have with the sun in the morning like this, before the house casts a shadow, and you can see the line, the termination line is right here, so it's about to start putting it in the shade anyway. But this is my 1956 Beetle, for those of you that are not familiar. She got a flat. I got to fix that. It holds air for like 6 months at a time, and then it'll lose it again, so I need to take care of that. Anyways, got my nice slanted B-pillars here. My chop top doors. Listen to the sound of that. It closes and it's assertive sounding like a Mercedes-Benz. Boom! A nice solid tone. Nice even gap going all the way up the door. I think I did a pretty good job myself, but for the imperfections that I did have, Earl at Classic Car Creations made up all the difference in the world, and this car came out just absolutely gorgeous. Of course, no hinges sticking out. You're not going to see too many Volkswagen Beetles like that. My hinges are actually tucked on the inside. And this is one of those things I love to toot my horn, because when I was building this car, everybody told me it wasn't going to work. That even if I could get it to work, that the door was going to go right into the fender. Well, clearly it doesn't, and it's opened all the way. I do have to come up with some kind of a check strap, though, because these hinges do hit the limit, and then the door likes to flex with the hinges bolt to the door. So a check strap would, of course, prevent all that, so I need to get that situated. The nice assertive thwump. In the back here, you'll see the engine. Engine is a custom color that I mixed myself. I guess it's kind of shady, so it's a little hard to see. But it's kind of a gunmetal gray with blue accents on it, which I think look pretty cool. Anyway, this is probably a very, very poor time to shoot the engine because it's in too much shade. Should have shot this part of the car earlier in the morning. Well, anyway, it'll be shot at the show. You'll be seeing that. Of course, you got a Mexican seal on here because I think it just provides a much better seal. In this car, when I chopped it, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how much did you chop it in the back? It doesn't look like you chopped it at all. Actually, I chopped it about 3 inches in the back. And if you've ever seen the Fernan chop, I actually borrowed some of his ideas where he takes a pie cut out of the back window, a big triangular piece, and cuts all the way down to here. So in doing so, the entire engine compartment shifted and it moved downwards, so there's a lot less room in here than it ordinarily would be, which is the reason why I don't have a deck lid spring, because it doesn't clear the top of my air shroud. Now I may cut down the air shroud and do something custom with it, or maybe I'll come up with some other way to get a spring or some kind of other stop on there, because I'd really like this to stay open without having to shove a screwdriver in the hinge, because I can't tell you how many times I forgot the screwdriver was there and went to push down on the lid and crushed my hinges and bent the screwdriver and put a dent in my lid. So we're going to try to stay away from that if we can. But yeah, the rear was chopped about 3 inches. The front was chopped a lot more than that. I mean, 6 plus. This actually is a windshield frame from a 69, because Eleanor's windshield frame was completely shot. And that means it does have a minor curve on it, because in 1964, 5, I think it was, the first year for the big window Beetles. They used the bigger windshield on it, and they weren't completely flat. Now, if you don't believe me, and you have a 65 and up Beetle, put a level across the windshield and rock it. You'll notice right away they're not flat. They appear flat, but they're actually truly not flat at all. So this glass that's going to be in here is going to have to be a modified 69 windshield. It's going to be cut down to fit. So that's one of the things I need to take care of. As far as door glass is concerned, I want to put the little quarter windows in there. So that way I have a little vent, which would be just really nice because it gets so damn hot down here. I'd also like to install AC. And I think in installing a vent window in there, that also means that the window which goes in here will be a little smaller, and because of the way the roof was formed versus the B-pillars, the glass is going to kind of want to twist in its frame. So the shorter piece of glass that I use would actually alleviate a lot of the situation. Now, of course, I haven't tested this yet. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with this yet. But rather than stretch the roof, and this is one of the reasons why my Beetle looks so different, rather than cut the roof into like 6 pieces and welded pieces in between it, which always gives you a very flat-looking Beetle and always ruins this window shape. If it doesn't have the appropriate kidney shape here in the back, that little, well, not really a kidney bean, I guess it's not, but it needs that point here. If it doesn't have that D-shaped point, chop tops don't look right, and very often they have this big round back window part. So in cutting this up the way that I did, it alleviated that. In addition, the B-pillar on the door and the window is the same width. This is something I put a lot of attention into, because when you look at other Beetles, this is always thicker than this one. And to me, that always looked off, like it was wrong. And if you don't believe me, I mean, look at yourself, and every time you look at a Volkswagen, you're never going to unsee it. Never going to unsee it. This is always thicker than this, and it never looked right to me. On my car, they're even. I actually made them that way, so it doesn't hurt my vision or, my visibility in any way, because, well, it's kind of behind my head, although that's not really all true, because the seat has to go so far back. These seats are from a 350Z. Yes, one just like that. I put these in here. They're actually for that Z because mine were starting to wear out. And as I was building this car, I said, I like the 350Z seats. I'm familiar with them. They fit me well. So let's just bolt them in here. So that's what we did. And that door, just like the other side, nice and solid. These are ice pick door handles. The normal ones that you'd find in a 1956. But it's an interior mechanism from a late model Beetle. That's what I had available to me. And that's what I put together. And a lot of people say, how did you make that work? Well, it wasn't hard. It wasn't that easy either. I mean, it took a little bit of engineering, a little bit of forming, and I had to make sure that the handle mechanism lined up with the latch mechanism on the inside. But this also gives me a capability of 2 different locks. The mechanism itself has its own lock in it, and the handle has a lock in it, which are completely independent from each other. So just a little something for extra security, I guess. I don't know how it would help me in any way, but it's there, and it is a function that is available. Here's the dashboard. Absolutely gorgeous. We'll go around the front of the car before it starts getting shade casted on it. Oh, look at that! Just in the time we were talking, it's already got a line there. These headlights are not staying. These actually are Eleanor's original headlights. They are rusted, and they're kind of holy. I don't think I can restore these and make them the way that I want them to. However, the lenses, they're pretty good. They're a little sandblasted after all the years, having been on the road. But she's got her little angry eyebrows on there, and I think we're going to leave it that way. But we'll make them look nicer, of course. There's underneath the hood. So we got, this camera doesn't do high contrast video very good. It's either dark or it's light. It doesn't like to do both at the same time. But that's where I want to mount my circuit boards. Somewhere between the glove box and that hinge. So let's see if we can get them laid in there. And let's see what it looks like. Because I'm curious if it's even going to fit properly. And what's going to go on with it. Alright, well, let's see. Well, it looks to me like that's going to be an about perfect fit. I do want to stand them up a little more vertically rather than have them laying down or on an angle. I can see that that mount and that mount there are probably going to be what I use to get this thing set up, so that way it's sitting up vertically. So I'll make some brackets out of that, or for that will bolt directly down into the car. And then I will probably underneath attach it somewhere else in the back here. And I have some really nice riv nuts, and I could just run into the body here somewhere. This will be up behind the steering column, so you'll never even see it. And over here on this side, well, you'll probably see it, but I can make it look nice as possible anyway. But yeah, this fits in here. So that means I took a good measurement, and that everything is it's going to work for me, and it's going to clear the hinge by a couple inches. So I think we're going to be really good in that department. And again, all the wiring that would normally go to the fuse block, which would live in that location, goes into this fuse block, which is right here. And then all the ugly wires and everything can all get tucked behind there and wrapped up in the nice plastic case or some wrap, or, you know, I'll come up with something. This ribbon cable here will go up to the switch panel, which is going to live in this little low scalloped area that's right there. Switch panel's currently disconnected. I just only have one hand, so I didn't want it dangling every which way. But just 2 little ribbon cable connectors, just push them right on, and I'll go into that right there. I still need to drill some holes for it. I'm really nervous about that, guys. I've drilled only a couple holes in this body, one of which was for the hood release cable. This is right here. I drilled that hole and put that rubber gogie in there. And I drilled another hole next to it because I thought that's where I wanted it first, and it's not. And I'm still going to use that for something, maybe a button or a switch, so that way it at least looks like it's being used. But all the wires that go underneath the hood, I don't want any of them visible. Even the ones that go to the headlights, which normally would run down the sides of the trunk and then go in through these holes, I don't want them visible at all. So I think we'll probably run them underneath the gas tank somehow, some which way. Again, I want everything just to be like hidden. Just elegant solution, just hide it all. Just make it gorgeous. So, well, that's the plan. Now at least I get to see that circuit board in there, and it's the first time that I'm seeing it too. I mean, it's I just put it in there, and I'll tell you what, guys, it looks good. See if I can turn up the, here you go. It's probably too bright now. Yeah, it's bleaching my eyes out. Yeah, gives you a little bit better of an idea. I don't think it's focusing too well. But anyway, I think you guys catch the drift there. That looks just, yeah, beyond my expectations. It does look a little big, but I guess it kind of needs to be for what it is. I mean, I got 32 relays on that board. I got a control system that controls 32 relays and 32 switches. There's a fuse box for 34 fuses, because I wanted to fuse the computer, and I wanted to fuse the entire car with a fuse as well. So I added 2 extra fuses to the setup, and it's way more than what a factory fuse box would normally have. I think late model Beetles had, what, 12? I think it was 12, and earlier ones only ran like well, as few as 4. Some of the early cars are only like 4 fuses. Then I think they had 8, and then it went to 12. Anyway, we got 32 fuses on it for individual circuits. I'm sorry, 34. 33 of them for individual circuits. 34th one is for the entire car, so that way it has its own little breaker on it. And then I'll also probably install a master fuse back at the battery. So we'll do that too. The only thing that won't be fused, of course, is the starter, because, well, it's a lot of amps. I mean, I suppose I could get a fuse for it, but I never heard of a Volkswagen burning up from the starter wire, because once they're bolted down, they usually stay on there pretty good. But there she is out in the sun. I'm just so happy to see her. How am I going to get her there? Well, I wanted to take the Z, but I think the Z is going to be out of the question because I don't feel like putting tires on it. I don't want to spend the money. I mean, I need to drive the car. The longer it sits, the more it's going to rot. And honestly, it's looking a little rough these days. Looking really rough. Still a driver, though. I mean, I change the oil on it. I take care of everything on it, so it still starts up, runs great. Gets great oil pressure even when it idles, and I think it's at 170,000 miles or something. It's holding up pretty good. But this year, I've also got the Fastback in the show. And the Fastback just got a brand new license plate because, believe it or not, I've had this car registered now for 10 years, and it's Florida's 10-year policy. After 10 years, you get a brand new plate, so I just put the new plate on there. But this car also, you notice the bumper's missing. That's because I started to build a trailer hitch for this. And let me show you what's going on. I got it in the back. Alright, over here we have the hitch receiver that I worked on. This is a piece of 2.5-inch square tube, really thick walled. Usually these are made from 1.5 to 2 inches. Hi, Biddy. He's probably about to attack me now that I got the camera out, aren't you? Aren't you? Yeah, aren't you? Oh, you can kick it back? Anyways, these are usually made with much smaller steel like that. Something just much smaller. This is what I had, so that's what I used. You notice it's not straight. I had to cut a relief cut into it and bend it to fit the contour of the bumper, which is over here. You will not... Go away. Go away. The bumper, as you see, is not straight either. The bumper also had a huge friggin' dent in it. I've knocked that out. It's not going to be perfectly smooth, but it never was when I had the dent in it either, but it's better than it was. But anyway, that 2.5-inch fits perfectly inside of here. If it were any bigger, it wouldn't fit at all. And those brackets on the ends, these guys right here, actually will fit in the pockets of the bumper brackets. And this is really thin, flimsy stuff. These bumpers are probably made for cosmetic reasons more than any impact was ever intended for these things. And the only thing that I had to do to modify it was cut a notch in the bottom of it to allow the actual receptacle here in the bottom. Anyway, this is your typical Class 1 or Class A hitch, so should be fine for pulling a very light trailer with very low tongue weight, like 100 pounds or less. Should be adequate for that. In addition, where these bolt in underneath the car, there's supposed to be some reinforcement plates that are screwed in there or bolted in. The earlier trailer hitch kits that would come out for Type 3s way back in the 60s and 70s came with them. But when I looked underneath the back of Ruby to try to take measurements to make my own, I discovered somebody already put them in. So, win! I don't even have to deal with that crap. So that's great. Anyway, paint on this is drying. Once the paint finishes drying, I'm going to bolt this thing together, and then I should be able to pull Eleanor off to the show. You shut up over there. I'm trying to get this thing started, too. I'm starting to have a bad feeling that it might have a bad rod bearing in it. Because it'll crank over. It goes... every time it hits that same spot. And those are some of the symptoms of bad rod bearings. Now, I've never seen this engine run. The owner's never seen it run. The previous owner's never seen it run. I went back 2 different people to find out what kind of story this engine has. And while it looks great, it's all painted up nice, nobody ever saw it running. But anyway, another story for another day. We'll fight with that thing. I got to get back out front and try to get something done on Eleanor so we can get some progress made this week and get this car off to the show. Right, we'll hop in here real quick and have a look at these switches one more time, because this circuit board's going to go in the trunk and the switches will be in the side that faces the driver. So that's about what you're going to be seeing. If you're front and center from the driver's seat, you'd look at that through the steering wheel. No, the steering wheel's not staying. This is the original wheel. Just happens to be what services this car at the moment. I just haven't decided what I wanted here yet. Just wanted something to work. Yeah, there it is. That's what we're doing. Now, I may change the design of the bezel. Some people complained about it, but I mean, it's not permanent, guys. It unbolts. I can actually unbolt it and take it out. This is not permanent. It is not welded in. You know, this is like wheels. People bitch about the wheels, too. Guess what? 5 bolts and the wheel comes off. And I can put any wheels on this car that I want to because of the amount of offset and the wheel spacers that I have on the back. There's so much space to be able to move things around, and that includes this design. And it's got a kind of a haze on it. It needs to be cleaned. It's kind of dirty. Been sitting as I've been working on it in environments where, well, you get flux smoke and stuff, and I imagine that's what it does to the inside of your lungs. So always use adequate ventilation when you're soldering stuff. So that's what's going in there. There's my glove box, which is a little finicky. That's just the way this car was when I got it, and of course it didn't get any better from having to replace the dash and rebuild the dash because this thing is just in bad shape. But Earl did a good job of making the glove box fit flush, because the glove box was all kinds of wonky in there. And of course, there's my ashtray. Earl did a little restoration on that. That sucker. These things are so hard to come by and so expensive. The last time I saw one for sale in the SAMA, it was like $200-something. I was at a show in Jacksonville, and I happened to walk past a vendor that had one out. And I said, how much do you want for that? And I just kind of looked at it because he was talking to somebody else, and he just made eye contact with me for a second. So I pointed to that and went like this, and he said $80. So I said 60, and he said sold. I bought that thing for $60. I friggin' stole it. And I mean, it's in great condition. Just great condition. I mean, it's not quite perfect, and I told Earl, don't make it perfect. I don't want it perfect. I want it just to be good enough. And I think that's perfect for this car. I mean, it may be the least prettiest thing, but hey, it works. It's serviceable, and that's where it goes. This is where the speaker grill would go. I don't know what it's supposed to look like that goes underneath that. I'm probably going to change something out. I had people say, why don't you just put a touchscreen there? Because it's got a grill on it. You put a touchscreen behind a grill? I kind of want the grill there. That's the original look of this car. Still need to figure out what I'm doing for a rear view mirror. So rear view mirror still is up in the air. And then this is, of course, my sun visor. Look at that. That tells you just how much I chopped this windshield down. It doesn't even pass the steering wheel. I mean, it's several inches below the steering wheel even, so that's clearly never going to work. I don't usually use these things anyway when I drive. I'm tall enough that I could just kind of tip my head back, and the top of the windshield becomes its own visor. So I got to do something with that. Of course, in here we got all my Dynamat and my heat shielding. I can feel the sun on the roof. It actually made this a little warm, but it's not like hot as hell as metal would ordinarily be. So I guess it's working. But it has a heat shield and a foam insulation that's like, I guess it's about ½ inch thick. There it is. Anyway, that should work out nice as long as it doesn't want to peel. sometimes that gluey shit will get peely when it heats up too much. Here's my beautiful kick panels. Again, Earl did all the detail work into this and made them just look gorgeous. And I said, Earl, we're just going to cover them with carpet. And Earl's like, well, I want the car to be right. Well, he certainly did a number to make it right. Alright, well, that's that. Inside of the doors, you see I got all that Dynamat stuff in there, and I hate showing logos, but, you can't really get away from that. So, hopefully this stuff stays in the doors, too. But you hear they don't ring like a bell. They sound more like tapping on a door of a Mercedes-Benz. They're just heavy and dense sounding. So I am just overjoyed with the way this car is coming out. Here's my beautiful original Hurst shifter. Wild Bill gifted that to me. He found it in this pile of stuff, and I said, I know exactly the car that's going to go on. So anyway, now it lives on Eleanor. I didn't realize it looks like there's some tape residue. Somebody wrapped something around it. That should clean up pretty good. And then I can replace the shift knob with something new. This is my original pedal cluster. And I don't know if it's originally from this car. You know what? No, it's originally from this floor pan. This floor pan was a rebuild. This is not an original 1956 floor pan in here. Sorry to say, guys. It's just not. So these are later model floor pedals that the gas pedal is actually attached to the assembly versus being separate where it would actually clip to the floor instead. So it's a little different on here. And you know what? I'm fine with it. Some stainless steel hardware under here, and I'm going to try to use stainless steel for, well, about anything that I can that's going to be visible. Especially these nice, what the hell did I call them? Cap head screws. Crack head screws is what I was calling them. So anyway, I'm trying to make that stuff just look nice with it. Yeah, I know it's not factory, but I just want it to look nice, and that's the goal. Now, up here in the speedometer hole, I had a thought when I was laying in bed the other night. I said, you know what? Why did I put the stock speedometer hole in there? When I could have just put two of them side by side. I could have had a speedometer and a tachometer, two big gauges right in here side by side, and I could have made it look like it was a factory install, even though technically we would know it's not. But I could say that it's a special sports edition for this year, which is what I've been saying about the car anyway. You know, it's a 1956 sports edition. It's a special model. They only made like 3 or 4 of them. This one went to Brazil with some guys with the initials of AH. Anyway, I tell a story to people and they all love it. But yeah, 2 speedometer holes I think would have been a whole lot better, because this is what we used to call in commercial art class negative space. I mean, it's a real beautiful, clean, shiny panel. And I guess you would normally put some switches or something in there, but yeah, without a gauge or something in there, it just looks a little naked. So I think 2 of these side by side, nudge this one over a little bit, and try to center them over the steering wheel in such a way that it would have made sense. So anyway, something afterthought, a little too late for it now. Maybe in the next car. I guess we'll see what happens on the next go around. If that's the only thing I regret, I think we're in really good shape. All right. Let's get back outside and have a look. Wrap this video up for today. Here's Ruby. Ruby needs a good shine. Ruby never had the brightest paint. Ruby's just a gorgeous girl, though, isn't she? Oh, she's locked down. I got all my show stuff in there. Everything that's going to the goodie bags in the car show. There's so much going on in this. I got a lot going on this week. It's amazing I'm even making this video, but I'm not going to get too tech heavy because, well, I just don't have the time for that stuff today. So, here we are. There's Eleanor, my 1956 Chop Top Beetle. You guys were requesting more videos. Here we are with another video today. Get around this side. There's that big booty. I still got to work on them tail lights. I'd like to have that ready for before the show too, but I don't think I want to focus on that. I got other things going on. I also don't know how I want them yet. I need to just get some cheap double-sided tape and stick them on and see how they look. And once I figure out the appropriate location, I'll trace them with a black China marker, which is the same thing that black stripe is that's around the rear apron here, because I wanted to see how far this deck lid slides down the back of the rear apron, because again, remember when I chopped this, everything moved down, including the deck lid, and it still fit on the apron just fine, but it doesn't line up with any of the latches or anything that's on the inside. So I'll have to come up with some way to get that latch to custom grab. You know, not a big deal. It's just one of them things. And of course, it's a glass pack on there because that's how I run all my Volkswagens. Every one of them always gets a glass pack exhaust. Ruby is no different, right, Ruby? I wish this thing would auto contrast adjust. The camera doesn't like to do that. There it is, glass pack. All right. Okay. Well, I guess that's it for today, guys. Licky, like, comment, and subscribe. Especially, you know, like and comment if you want to see more of this car. Try to motivate me. And try to stay on topic. If you start, you know, if I put this car up and you guys start asking about, I don't know, somebody or something that used to be on the channel before, or another project, it shows me that you really don't care. You really don't care about my project, who I am, or what I'm working on. And post hijacking is just bad internet etiquette anyway. You know, it's just highly disrespectful. So, anyway, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but try to stay on subject, guys. Just try. Make me happy for once. Anyways, I appreciate you guys, so licky, like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that dingle belly so you get updates every time I upload a video. Check out Duck Shit down there for all of my different social media links. And we'll be back probably with a video next week of the car show. So watch for that. Again, rareairvw.com if you'd like to know more about the car show. If you want to get registered, that's the place to do it. And duckshit.net for all of my fun stuff. If you want to know more about me and what I'm up to. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Dee-dee! Up she goes.